Roman emperors commanded legions that could reshape continents. They signed decrees that determined life and death for millions. Yet Marcus Aurelius, at the height of absolute power, wrote in his private journals that his absolute power over the world gave him no power over his own mind. Seneca was among the richest men in Rome, yet he argued that wealth is not a good, but a master that often enslaves its owner. And Epictetus, a slave with a damaged leg, taught that he was freer than any consul in Rome. This isn't paradox, it's a diagnostic. This is the foundational architecture of Stoic philosophy, that power, wealth, and status are illusions of control, and the only sovereignty that exists is interior. If this is true, then everything we've inherited about success, influence, and freedom today may be structurally inverted. The question isn't whether you have control, it's whether you've been confusing the appearance of control with the thing itself. We're told that Stoicism is about resilience, about enduring hardship with grace, about maintaining calm in chaos. And there's truth in that framing. It's not wrong, but it's dangerously incomplete, because a lot of modern Stoicism is sold like armor. The Romans treated it like governance. The popular version tends to reduce it to emotional management, a technique for not feeling bad when things go wrong, a mental toughness regimen, and in that reduction, something essential gets dissolved. The Romans weren't developing coping mechanisms. They were constructing a complete inversion of where power resides. They were arguing that the emperor in his palace and the slave in his chains could occupy radically different positions on the axis of freedom, and that the slave could be freer. This isn't a metaphor. This isn't consolation literature. This is a precise philosophical claim about the architecture of human agency. And if we take it seriously, it doesn't just change how we handle adversity. It changes what we think freedom means. Let's establish something foundational. Stoicism didn't emerge from academic meditation. It was born from crisis, literal civilizational crisis. Zeno of Citium founded the school after losing everything in a shipwreck. He washed ashore in Athens around 300 BCE during the collapse of the Greek city-state system and began teaching in the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch. That porch was famous for its glorious paintings, but haunted by the memory of executions under the 30 tyrants. The philosophy was born in a place marked by political violence. When Rome adopted Stoicism in 155 BCE, it wasn't because Romans were interested in Greek abstraction. It was because they needed a philosophy that could function under the weight of empire. Wars, plagues, political assassinations, the constant threat of collapse. Rome wasn't a backdrop, it was the crucible. Seneca lived under Caligula and Nero. Epictetus was enslaved and then exiled when Domitian expelled all philosophers from Rome. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations on the front lines of war against Germanic tribes during an epidemic that was killing thousands. This matters because it means Stoicism isn't a philosophy for when things go well. It's a philosophy for when the structures you relied on disintegrate. And that's not ancient history. That's the condition of our time. So here's the pivot. Stoicism isn't calm, it's jurisdiction. What belongs to you and what never did. Here's the central architecture, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus opens the Enchiridion with this: of things, some are in our power and others are not. In our power are opinion, movement toward a thing, desire, aversion. Not in our power are the body, property, reputation, office. This sounds simple, but it's structurally radical. Because what Epictetus is arguing is that your body, the thing you inhabit, is not under your control. Your reputation, your career, your health, your wealth, none of it is yours to command. The only thing you own is judgment. Marcus Aurelius writes, remove the opinion that you've been harmed and the harm disappears. Stoicism doesn't deny damage. It argues that suffering is where damage meets interpretation. Now consider your relationship with your smartphone. You believe you control it. You chose it, you carry it, you decide when to use it. But phenomenologically, the opposite is true. You pick it up for one message and only resurface 14 minutes later. It fragments your focus. It trains you to crave interruption. It creates the appearance of connection while dissolving presence. If you can't stop checking it for 24 hours, who owns whom? The Romans would recognize this immediately. It's the same structure. You think you command an empire, digital or political, but you're enslaved to its demands. Let's make this intimate, because this isn't about ancient philosophy. This is about you, right now, reading notifications at 11 p.m., feeling the low-grade anxiety of incomplete tasks, the compulsion to check, to scroll, to stay connected. The Stoics identified 4 virtues as the architecture of interior resilience, not as a checklist, but as an interdependent system. Courage, the ability to face discomfort; silence, the absence of stimulation; temperance, moderating desire, especially the desire for what others possess; wisdom, the capacity to discern the essential from the trivial; justice, acting with integrity toward others, not for validation. If those virtues are real, they have to survive the hardest arena we've built, the attention economy. In our hyper-connected era, these map directly onto the digital crisis. Courage means turning off the phone and sitting with the discomfort of your own mind. Temperance means not comparing your interior experience to someone else's curated exterior. Wisdom means knowing that the notification is not the purpose. Justice means using communication for value, not ego. But here's the tension the Stoics sustain, and we need to sustain it too. These virtues don't make life easier. They don't reduce suffering. They relocate it. Because the suffering of distraction is passive. The suffering of discipline is active. And active suffering, chosen suffering, is where freedom lives. Seneca practiced poverty while wealthy. He would sleep on hard mattresses, eat minimal food, to prove to himself that deprivation wasn't fearsome. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire while reminding himself daily that he was dust. This wasn't masochism. This was training. Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Rehearsing loss so that, when it comes, it doesn't shatter you. So what do you do with this? Because the instinct is to want a list. 5 practical steps to Stoic resilience. A morning routine, a framework. But that's precisely the error. Because the moment you convert philosophy into technique, you've lost the philosophy. You've made it instrumental. And instrumentality is the opposite of what the Stoics were teaching. They weren't offering a system for achieving goals. They were offering a way to become free from the tyranny of goals. Free from the belief that happiness resides in outcomes you can't control. Free from the illusion that power over external things constitutes freedom. Marcus Aurelius writes in Book 4 of the Meditations, "The universe is change, life is opinion. Everything outside you is in flux. The only stable ground is your capacity to choose your stance toward that flux, not to control it, to inhabit it with clarity." Epictetus says, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." This isn't resignation. This is the most difficult form of active engagement. Accepting reality exactly as it is, while still choosing your response. And that response, that's the space of freedom, not in what happens to you, but in what you make of what happens to you. Not in the algorithm's suggestion, but in whether you follow it. Not in the crisis, but in how you meet it. Stoicism gives you no shortcuts. It gives you a spine. So return to the beginning. Marcus Aurelius commanded legions, but controlled almost nothing. Seneca possessed wealth but found it hollow. Epictetus was enslaved but liberated himself mentally. The architecture they built wasn't designed to make them powerful in the world. It was designed to make them ungovernable by the world. And that distinction between power over and freedom from is what we've lost. Because we live in a hyper-connected empire. We carry more information than any Roman emperor could access. We communicate across continents instantly. We have the appearance of total control, and yet we're more fragmented, more anxious, more enslaved to external validation than perhaps any generation before us. The Stoic blueprint doesn't promise that you'll feel better. It promises that you'll see more clearly, that you'll stop confusing the noise for the signal, the notification for the purpose, the appearance of control for sovereignty itself, not a mindset, a load-bearing structure, The only power that no algorithm can take from you is the power to choose your interpretation, to decide what matters, to withdraw into the citadel of your own mind and defend it, not with isolation, but with lucidity. That's not ancient history. That's the most urgent task of modern life. The foundational texts, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, Seneca's Letters, Epictetus's Enchiridion, are linked in the description below with book and letter citations, along with contemporary analyses. This video is part of the Philosophy Explained playlist, exploring Stoicism, existentialism, and ancient wisdom. New videos every Thursday and Sunday.